All right, so this week we've got two, and I want to just preface the first one because this one's, I think, pretty serious, and we're going to try and bring levity to that because I get that the person who asked this question is asking a very emotional question for them.
We're not going to bring levity to it.
We're not. Did I say?
You said we will, and
you said we will. I thought,
well, if it's serious, we shouldn't bring levity.
All right, I'm leaving this one all to Jason.
That's right.
I misspoke. I meant to say not, and like I should say very plainly, being very serious. We do like to joke around, but we get when people send us some emotional questions.
Absolutely.
We want to handle that very sensitively out of love for you and and thankfulness for you sending in that question. We are thankful that you did. And so we're going to do our best to do that today. So, all right, here's the question. Very straight to the point. Is it bad that I'm gay? Everyone keeps saying I'm gross. Is it gross to God? First of all, I'm sorry that people are saying that to you.
Yes, that anyone will tell you that you're gross.
If those people, especially if those people are Christians, I'm very sorry that they have said that to you.
Yes.
You are not gross.
Yeah.
And you're
or
not,
gross to God.
You're
That's
certainly
right.
not gross to God.
Yeah.
I think and I don't know when this is playing, but there's a sermon coming up that I'm doing where we say in the point that you were made in goodness to show the goodness of God. And so no matter who you are made in goodness. God made you. When God made you, he said, that's good. But all of us in different ways there's the image of God in us, but then there's other things in us as well. But you, as a person, are made in goodness.
Yeah. And, we were talking as we were preparing to talk about this because we did want to treat this with, the right kind of gravity because a real person asked this, and it sounds like you've already been hurt, and we would not want to add to that.
No.
The difficulty is this topic is so sensitive in our culture that it really doesn't matter where you stand on this topic. There are very few words that you can use that couldn't possibly be taken in a way that would be offensive. And, I wish we were sitting down and talking because then you could ask me what I meant. You could ask Jason, Nathan what they meant. And I hope you would hear that there was no offense. We were not intending, even if we use words in a way that make it sound that way, we were not intending to offend anybody on any part of this discussion in any way. And particularly, we want you to know that when we say, and we say this a lot around Community Christian, that no matter what you think about God, God can't stop thinking about you, and he only has good intent for you. And the one thing I know for sure about God is no matter what, he is for you. No matter what you've done, no matter what anybody else says about you, he is for you. He is constantly moving toward you. And I believe this is true about our church, that so are we. We are completely for you, no matter what, and we will go to any lengths that we can to try to help you see that. We don't intend any offense. Now, I hope we've helped you on the back part of that to say, are you gross? Does God think I'm gross? That's not true.
That's right.
The first part you asked, say it the way they asked it.
The question was, is it bad that I'm gay?
I would want to say to you, if having same-sex attraction is not in it of itself it's not bad. There's nothing in the Bible that says the attractions are just attractions.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you talk about attraction is something that I see or perceive that I'm drawn to in some way, shape, or form. And when we talk about is something that, and the difficult, and I think we all kind of feel going around this is, as you've already talked about with language, is the question itself is fairly short. We don't want to make a lot of assumptions about in the person who wrote this or anything. So I think when we try to talk about even saying the goodness of who you are as a person and all of this, we are talking about God's definition ultimately of good, that when God looks at you, he says, you are good, you're made in goodness, I love you, I'm for you. And then when you ask, is it bad that I'm gay? I would assume, but I try not to assume, that the question you're asking is it wrong or is it sinful? But I think since you've used the word bad, the easier question to answer would it be good? Would it be God's intent? Would it be what God would want in a situation? And I think that's where we have to answer the question.
And I don't want anybody to feel like we're dodging by talking about attraction. So just to be as plain as I can, the Bible's pretty clear, I think, that any sexual activity, not attraction, but any sexual activity that is outside of a man and a woman who are married to each other,
right?
That's not God's intent for humanity nor sex. That sex is intended for a man and a woman who are married to each other. And so if that's what you're asking, what does the Bible say about homosexual sex? That's not God's intent. It's viewed in the Bible. It's said in the Bible. It's sinful.
Right. Which would mean in the terms, once again, we don't want to make assumptions, but when you talk about bad and good, what the Bible makes clear is sin is anything that is not God's intent for how things should go, for the way humans flourish and the way that works. And so, as we've said, it would be sinful, but that does not correlate to gross.
Your identity.
Right, to your identity.
In fact, the word, abomination, as I understand it, people, maybe that's what somebody meant, because I could see how somebody really loosely could say, the Bible says it's an abomination, and that word means gross. Well, you're gross. That's not what that means. It really had to do with, in the place of the Old Testament, it means ceremonially unclean.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the part of that it means is you can be ceremonially cleansed.
Right.
Because the same thing is true of other things listed in that passage. It's listing things that are ceremonially unclean before God. It's not meaning permanently that once this has happened, you're forever gross to God.
Right.
That's not what it means. And honestly, whoever said that probably hasn't looked too closely at that list if they threw off on you and didn't also have a little come back on themselves.
Well, and I think that's a part of when we talk about sin in general, and I can see how certainly if someone has told you that because this is sinful, that means you're gross. We tend to think of sin as if it is, I don't want to use the word offensive because I could see how it would be offensive, but in the terms of it's gross to God, like God looks at it and goes, ew, I don't want to look at that. But the truth would be, if that's the case, then it's equally applied across all sin. Yeah. But what we understand is that, and this is what I was trying to hit on the God's intent, is that God looks at sin and says, this in some way is keeping you from flourishing in the way that you need to have the kind of life that ultimately is best for you. And that sin hurts God in the sense of, it hurts us. Yeah, because it hurts us. And because just like when I see my children making decisions or doing something that is hurting them, my heart hurts for them, but I never look at them and say, gross. Yeah. I can't believe you would do that. Now, there may have been times as a sinful human myself that I've got, I can't believe you did that. But that wasn't coming from love.
That's right.
What love always drives me to when I look at my children who are doing something that is harmful to them or is keeping them from flourishing is I want to help. And as you said, cleanse. I want to make them better. And so when God looks at our sin of any kind, gross is not the, I don't know what, feeling.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that you understand, if we have in any way not answered your question and you think we've dodged, we weren't intending to dodge,
no,
or we've offended you, we really would like to hear from you. And you can continue to reach out anonymously if that's best, but we'd love to talk to you so that we can have a dialogue and help you understand. But you're not hated by God. You're not disgusting to God.
You're
That for
definitely
sure.
not hated by us.
You're not hated by
Absolutely
us as well.
Yeah.
So
All right. All right. Thanks again for that question.
absolutely.
Giving us a chance to
And
speak
for
to it.
listening.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know
Yes.
how much you listen or.
Mhm.
But
Thank
there's
you.
certainly a lot of bravery on your part.
Yeah,
or
sure.
if you have felt wounded at all by anybody who's told you it's gross, to continue to engage.